What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are going into the second half of today's episode of Swan Song right here on RollPlay Live. And I think you're going to see El Presidente, which, if I'm not mistaken, and Jeff, you can help me with this, translates in Spanish to the president.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, we're on the
Correct
same
so far.
page. So you're on your way. You're on your way to see the president. Let help me understand how this is going to work. So
I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to say, hey, I'm Wilbur Higgins III, and I want to talk to the goddamn president.
sure, that'll be great. So you're gonna go to Asa, to where the presidential palace is. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move that. Let's move that dice tray. out of the
Adam,
way
real
here.
quick, did you change?
Did I change?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm wearing a hoodie now. I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wearing a
okay.
hoodie,
I
too.
thought maybe you were wearing a white shirt, and then I was
No.
like, oh, my God. Jeff, what is about to happen?
You're
Like, he's
losing your
gone
mind.
full black.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't get the memo
We're the only ones that
costume
didn't.
change.
I
true.
I did it in Act
I got a
1,
Swan
so
Song
I was
Okay.
ahead of the game.
All right. So,
Good?
yeah.
There we go.
Good? Okay. All right. So y'all are in 306 now, and you need to get to 704. The Swan Song can make that in 2 jumps, right?
Fuck yeah, it
1,
can.
2. However, to
Oh,
make
God.
that happen,
Oh, yeah, we need to roll.
you got to roll. You got to roll.
Yeah.
some money.
Smiling.
have a negation roll.
Yeah, but I have a +3 in navigation, and I get help from the ship because we paid for that shit.
That's
You're
right.
also using star charts that are 117 years old.
What could possibly go wrong?
That's true, too.
So let me find the navigation table here, and then we can all have a good time. I hope everyone enjoyed playing Swan Song. This is
The last time we did a bad roll, we
This is probably the end.
had to go on life support and crash landed on a planet. So,
Oh,
true.
well, that wasn't the last time,
went-
but that's
it
the
went.
result of a bad roll. This
oh
is
boy.
basically the hardest part of Swan Song right
And,
here.
and there
Yeah.
was like a TPK, like
No.
we almost because remember we were in like life support,
Yeah,
and then
I put you
had
guys to
put
sleep.
yourself in or something, or I don't know. It was
yeah, it was a whole thing.
crazy.
It was great. I had a fun because everyone was asleep.
Here we
and
go.
I
Yeah.
was
Drill check. All right.
walking around the ship, nude, dancing
So
and singing.
you're making a drill check with charts that are significantly more than 5 years old. It's going to be 2d6 plus the nav computer, which is a 2, another 2,
Okay.
plus your navigation skill.
+3.
Yeah.
So 2d6 plus 5.
Yeah.
What then? But I have old charts, so what does that do?
Oh, yeah, and that's -2.
so it's +3.
Yeah, +3 total.
Okay.
Still pretty good.
I have my reroll, which is what we've always used it for.
Like now.
Yeah.
Well, it's a 7.
It's a 7.
It's a 7, yeah. So
means we lose gas or something, right?
let's see. Against difficulty 7, the skill check is modified by the distance to be drilled and the quality of the charts. We did that already. No, 7 is what you need. So that's
Oh,
the
okay.
first.
Great.
That's the first jump. So
Great.
that's the one to 505,
Yeah, so we're going
and then you got to go.
to there. We got one more.
We got one more.
I just
So
put
Jeff, you'd
Frito
think that,
grease
you
on
know,
the
and what is
TV.
it, 3,330 something, that like you make $50,000 worth of repairs on your ship, and they're like, "Yeah, I noticed your star maps were a little out of date. Why don't I
no.
pop in the USB
I could've asked
drive
for it,
and
I just
just
didn't think about it.
upgrade those?"
100.
We like a
stars.
Let's do one at a time. That's a 2.
Why'd you do that?
Okay.
Same roll.
So you're fine. You're
8.
able to make those jumps. The ship is twice as fast as the gravitas, so it takes the same amount of time to get from there to there as it did the other. So you have, and again, this is sort of the downtime for a Swan Song for this system. You have 12 days where you're just like hanging out on the ship and just relaxing. What do you want to be doing during that time? Looking over research, planning, reading the Reader's Digest about the
Reaching
president.
out to who we're visiting.
Yeah, I mean, you can't communicate out of drive space, but yeah, composing messages to deliver when you arrive.
Did
that
I
kind
get
of
any
thing.
messages from before we left
No.
from Ajani or anyone like that?
No.
No messages from the grave.
No, the Grave has not messaged you
Fuck.
of late. They
Okay.
actually unfriended you on Facebook.
That makes sense.
Damn.
Spacebook.
Yeah,
I,
Facebook.
I would,
That's
I
right.
would definitely
yeah.
have a conversation with Pi.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, and I think Pi wants to have a conversation with Lenore as well, but let's work yours
wow.
out first. So yeah. So what's the context of this conversation? Are you,
I think I'm gonna I'm just gonna talk to Pi about what I saw.
Mhm.
So, if we're I saw something back on the planet.
What did you see?
Well, the visions I have. I'm pretty sure I saw the water mind again.
I don't understand.
Well, remember all the time I saw planets exploding and another person and things I couldn't explain? It was the same thing, except when I was healing Lenore, that's what triggered it.
I had hoped those visions would be over for you after everything that happened.
Well, I would have hoped so too, but I have a feeling there's more to come. But you talked about the presence of the water mind and feeling connected, and
Yes.
have you felt anything recently?
Well, I'm not capable of feeling anything, Piani.
Thank you, Janet.
I think you know what I mean.
Yes. I do.
Bong.
So Pi says, while you and the rest of the crew were asleep, I was working on a puzzle. Something that the Warmind gave me the last time we spoke. I think I've got it figured out. There's a piece missing, a piece only the Warmind has. I think to understand it, I need to interface with it directly, again. I'm beginning to believe that it's my purpose. To merge with the Warmind. I think that's why the Shindel built me.
Well, don't you think you have your own purpose?
To become the war pizza.
Yeah, man, you ain't never had War Pizza? It's the shit. Yeah, Pi says, I've been wondering about that, too. I'm not sure. So often humans go around behaving like they're in control of the universe. But maybe none of us are.
I'm certain none of us are in control, and even more so the water mind. He may seem to be in control right now, but I don't think he's the authority, if you will.
I think he's just doing what he was programmed to do. It's a shame, but I don't think I can blame him for it.
I don't think I need to tell you either. I think it's a terrible idea to interface with the war mind.
What if it could mean I could stop it?
Well, do you think that would mean sacrificing yourself, or do you think that would mean his possibly taking over you and other AIs?
I'm not sure. I suppose there's only one way to find out. There would be a merging. If I were to interface with the Warmind, there would be no Pi, no Warmind, something else. It's why I exist.
Have you ever thought to think that maybe that's what it wants? But not to merge, to just become more powerful?
That is a risk. There are things that my systems contain that the Warmind lacks. Things that would give it a better understanding of its prey, would make it better at its job. But I have to believe that I was built to temper it. But it might mean losing me.
I think it's probably, like pauses, and I bring up again, just almost to kind of change the subject. Like, I think Lenore shared that vision with me. She didn't say she did. In fact, she said she didn't. But for someone who's never experienced MES or psychic phenomenon. Perhaps she didn't even realize it. Perhaps if you talk to her, I seem to gather that she might have quite a bit of information that was missing from us while we were asleep.
So while this conversation is going on, Lenore, where's Lenore staying on the Swan Song? What quarters did you?
We gave her Woo's quarters.
Okay, so you're staying in a room whose last occupant was a teenage boy. There are pictures, and I guess they wouldn't even be faded because the ship has been sort of out of time. There are pictures on the wall of like promotional art torn from magazines of a girl named Nika Starlight. She's like a pop musician. You've never heard of her because she's pop music from 120 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just this like kind of cute like poppy musician singing on stage in a bunch of these photos. And then the wall, like there are all these notes up on the wall of like things that need to get fixed or like repaired on this Swan Song. And so you've been staying in that room. And while this conversation is happening, your little comm terminal, there's one in every room. It makes a little chiming sound.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, you wanna give us the noise of the comm terminal?
I think that's pretty close.
It's so good.
In the process of folding a few linens of mine, can I set up? Hello?
So Pi's voice comes over the speaker, and it's like, Lenore, are you busy?
At the moment, no.
I'm having a conversation with Piani right now. I would love it if you would join us.
But of course, I'll be there in just a moment. Where are you?
I'm everywhere. Piani is in her quarters.
I will head to Piani's quarters then.
Okay.
Leave hastily and make my way that direction.
Sure. Yeah.
In the meantime, I've poured myself an invisible cup of coffee, and I'm enjoying my invisible cup of coffee.
Subtle. Real subtle.
I love you, Scoots.
let me see if this works. I take out my wallet.
Oh.
Band, thank you.
Fantastic.
And now she's enjoying her real space coffee.
So
First you remove the
As
global
I think-
mode, then you remove the man.
As you're walking to there, you see Higgins walking through the halls in his underpants, just marching and like humming "Hail to the Chief."
dun, 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 dun,
He'll
dun.
just walk by the office and just salute Piani and walks by again.
I just shake my head.
As I see you approach, I very carefully just move as close as I can to the wall and just like slide past you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Swan Song's HR department was the nickname of a very large weapon, which we no longer have.
That's true.
Kind of on your own. So you're talking to Pi, and you hear your footsteps, and then now the doors are working. Pi probably just opens the door, and Lenore is standing outside.
Did I know Lenore was coming?
No.
No.
Oh, I apologize. I was told to join you and Pi.
I think, like, since Pi doesn't have a physical form right now, but I kind of, like, look up and, like, could have given me the heads up. It's like, come on in.
All right. So, what is this about?
What is this about, Pi?
We were just discussing the war mind, which, as I understand it, you have some intimate knowledge of.
I have researched quite a bit, yes, in the years, both from a military perspective and trying to understand its nature.
I too have wondered about its nature. I can tell you a bit about its history. It's very old. Aliens built it on a colony world to fight a war for them. It worked too well, destroyed most of them. Then they built me. I think that my purpose was to pacify this thing. All it's doing now is destroying what it was programmed to do. Hunting, killing. We were just discussing whether it's possible for me to stop it. I thought perhaps you might have some insight into the matter.
And the The somewhat awkward entrance has now been replaced with a somewhat nervous standing position as Lenore, no longer wearing the long coat, just has like a rolled up sleeve general shirt over the same pants on, no shoes, and just kind of stands there. Well, it depends on what our comparative research has uncovered. I mean, if you're asking about what the weapon capabilities are, I can send those files to you. If you would wish to know as to the expansion, I've sent out a number of messages. Next time you reach an information relay satellite, that should be bringing us updates of the most recent incursions and war fronts currently being fought against the Warmind. I do not know exactly what you're inquiring about.
Piani told me that she saw something, and that perhaps you did as well.
I'm unfamiliar with the abilities that you seem to harness,
Sorry.
and I. Yes, I know. I may have had a brief. Pardon, sorry, it was an itch. I had a brief daydream vision, whatever it was. I didn't see much.
You don't have to feel afraid to admit these things. Hallucinations are unusually common among the crew of the Swan Song.
At that point, and then the door just shuts because
Delusions as well.
But
I think at that point, I want to say, like, if you saw what I think you saw, which is what I saw, it was the Warmind. It was the very thing that is currently destroying the galaxy, and what we saw 118 years ago.
well, you've had visions like this before, then?
I've had visions before, during, and now after the start of the Warmind.
What do these visions usually mean?
And I think I kind of like look at Pi like maybe somehow he's going to help too, but I'm like, I don't know, but I do know that they've always been right, or at least close to right. A planet blowing up, the manifestation of Horrormind himself, certain things with Pi, certain things with myself, and now, after waking up, Warmind again.
Well, I think this gives some clarity as to the eventual path that you follow. I would ask, what, if there is anything to be done about this Warmind, and I mean no offense, you are but a small group, but I would also be lying if I didn't feel like there was something comforting about your history and your presence in the midst of this chaos. What do you hope to accomplish? Do you know what you hope to accomplish?
I've only been back for a little while now, but I think it's pretty clear. The universe either dies or something stops what's currently consuming it. It might seem egotistical, it might seem just fucking crazy, but I agree with Pi. I think that we're a part of this too. I think that you finding us is a part of it. I think us being in crystals is a part of it. I think seeing Warmind again is a part of it. And I can sit back and ignore it and just die like the rest. Or maybe it's time to actually start listening to Pi and do something about it.
And kind of glance up at the camera.
Mhm.
Take a deep breath. Back at the closed door, listen for the
The trumpet.
the trumpet to fade further away.
Yeah.
Look back. And she takes the shirt and pulls it up and over, and just wearing the pants at this point, but you can see where you would expect to see just an unclothed, thin female torso. A large portion of the chest is a mess of black, gray, and blue. It looks almost like cabling and textured mesh. There are tiny pulses into it that kind of just glimmer there, but it seems to be at least It resembles some of the way some of the infection you've seen of people who have been converted by the war mind.
Right.
But it is in a period at least of stasis, or it has been neutralized in the moment.
I mean, like, I would know this immediately as exactly what the people...
Yeah, you've
that-
seen. You've seen this stuff
the only
before.
difference is that those people were just basically like in a blood-curdling, I just want to kill you constantly.
Yeah. The last time you saw anyone like this, they were fully converted, and it was on Pitcairn Station. And yeah, they were like shooting at you and trying to kill you, and controlled directly by the war mind.
I guess, like, expecting a response, maybe I would say, like, I think I know what that means, but I have to ask you how that came to be.
For the sake of not giving you as long a story as it could be, suffice to say, I was part of a vessel that was to bring experimental weaponry to the front lines. That's one of the things I had been studying, is a lot of nanotech to specifically combat the weaponry and the conversion process. It was experimental, and many of our trials did not seem to take, and in many cases even killed those who were taking the medication. But we were at wit's end, and with the coming loss of Sigrid, it was told to bring it to the front. All of my compatriots were taken, and I myself found a point of infection within me, and with no other response, I took my own experimental device, and it halted it. It still crawls slowly, and because of the reaction, I've been unable to get any additional funding to continue to research on a mass scale, or even see if that's possible. All of my requests have been turned and shot down, so for now I just keep myself alive.
Are you under the influence of the war mind?
I am myself. I, strangely, since our contact, have found a lack of ease, and the vision that we shared was not the only sense.
I think I'm, like, a little taken back by that. I think I was like, well, I need to talk to Alfarius and Higgs. And Pi, I can't help but think, but this recent information shared by our friend here is potentially beneficial to our fight.
Or potentially disastrous.
Well, I don't know how much we know about the nanotechnology that was being utilized by the war mind, except that it was what was keeping us from doing anything against it. knowing more about that will help. But Pi, it's most important for me to tell you that I'm going to ask the crew to follow you in terms of what you think we should do. Against my better judgment, I think you're right. I think we need to investigate that piece of the puzzle.
Thank you for trusting me, Piani. And I think there's a pause, and maybe Higgs goes by on another pass via the low pass.
And finish putting the shirt back on and kind of get down.
Yeah,
and,
as that happens, I'm like,
and Pi says, if I'm able to merge with the Warmind, then ostensibly I should be able to control the nanites to make them do anything that I wish. The only question becomes, what will I want then? I suppose we'll have to find out.
I ask one thing. Do not take your eye off of me. The closer we get to this, if these visions continue, I will let you know. And if at any point you distrust my intent, do not hesitate.
Yeah, and I think while you're saying that, Piani and Lenore and Pi are not aware of this, but we as an audience see a sort of vaguely like shadowy kind of figure just standing behind you while you're speaking.
Yeah, and any additional conversation I think I would have with Pi is like I wanted to have one-on-one, but even now it's fine. So I just say, like, of course, and maybe just say thank you for talking to us and thank you for showing us. I need to talk to the crew.
I understand. I will return to my quarters. If you need anything, you know where to find me.
Cool. Okay.
And actually, instead of just telling them, I'm going to literally send them like a video log of basically the last 30 minutes.
Like
so
that
they could
conversation?
Yeah, of the whole conversation. Be like,
Okay.
you just
So
need to
yeah, so
watch
as
this.
as like a perfect as a segue then, so you're like you go over to the thing, you're like, Pi, send this to Higgs and Alfarius. And then I think we cut to Alfarius at the end of that recording. So Alfarius, you're seeing like the last sort of frames of this. And then Pi says, so what do you think?
Is there any way you can experiment with interfacing with such a small sample of the Warmind?
I don't think so. I believe that the Warmind has to invite me in. It's still much more powerful than I am, and always will be, but I believe that its programming should allow a loophole. It desires to merge with me, if only because it believes it can overpower me. I only hope that it's wrong.
I guess the natural questions then would be, what method of delivery do we need to interface you with the Warmind?
That's where we're going to need you, Alfarius. I need to interface with him directly. You have to take me to Sigrid, to the Harridan's Heart.
I figured as much. Could the technology that Lenore has introduced be used as a preventative measure against infection?
I'm not sure. The nanites can do all kinds of miraculous things, but with the Warmind in their control, all they're able to do is consume, to destroy, to convert. There are unanswered questions. Why is the Warmind capturing psychics? To what end? What does he want from them?
Well, after we visit Captain Higgins' idiot grandchild, perhaps between here and our final destination, you could locate someone that could help us in answering these questions, as I see it paramount to us achieving the goal.
Of course. I have a few ideas about that.
I'll continue to research.
I've held off on speaking with my siblings, but I could contact them. It may be dangerous. If they're allied with the Warmind, he would know we're coming.
I believe he already knows.
You might be right. So Higgs, you've also been given this security footage.
Did I get
this
that?
Video.
Did I get him watching it?
Yeah, it's just nested forever.
Yeah.
In about 3 hours, it'll be like, so Higgs, you're watching Alfarius fight a
Yeah.
guy, and it's a recording of him, and he's fighting a recording of
Right.
Gianni playing a computer game with Pi, and the computer game is it's just nested forever. Just the game fractals out, and no one knows what's going on.
End
So-
of Swan Song.
Yeah, Swan Song. No, I think you got to watch the footage of that
Right.
conversation between the two of them.
All right. Yeah, I'm sitting back in my room. I just, I can't have this happen again. I'm not going to be stuck for another 117 years. You understand this, right?
Consider yourself lucky you weren't conscious for it.
Well, you're a robot. Shut up, Pi.
Technically, I'm an artificial intelligence.
Technically, you shut up, Phil. I just got to kick back. I'm sorry. It's tense. All right. It's a
Your
lot to.
fault. It's in your nature to be obnoxious.
Yeah, I deserve that.
We can't be blamed for who we are.
All right, stop. Have you talked to anyone from the 22? Have you sent out any messages?
No, I was waiting for you. It's a big risk. Alfarius thinks that we should reach out. If they still exist,
They have to exist.
it's possible they could be allied with the Warmind.
Well,
As I understand it, war can be profitable.
I mean, they probably made the whole thing, yeah. We can use some old terms. Maybe someone still thinks and searches those channels. Try not to be too open about everything, if you get what I'm saying.
I can try.
All right. I guess have them. Here, I'll just do it myself. I open up a prompt
Mm-hmm.
and go through the old channels and message.
Really old channels.
Yeah. And I don't even know. I don't know if these channels still are open or even.
Yeah,
work
it would be like
anymore.
a monitored kind of like dead drop situation.
Right. Right.
So you would just put the message out there, and then
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
someone would
I
know to
type
look.
the Blackbird sings on Asa tomorrow.
Mhm.
Tomorrow Eve.
Okay.
And send it off and go, well, I guess we'll see what my grandson has to say tomorrow.
Cool.
You should be in those meetings, Pi. Just don't say a word.
Of course. I miss my body.
Yeah, be nice to have you with us. Is there any way we can steal you one?
Maybe. Maybe you could convince Alfarius to let me ride along.
It's not a bad idea. I'll go check in, see what he says.
Okay.
Yeah, so I start walking towards Alf's room.
Right.
Poke my head in.
I'm just standing in there.
Yeah.
The
Man,
lights are on now, though.
We should. Do you not like sitting? I guess it doesn't matter to you, huh?
It's harder to be tactically efficient from a sitting position. Makes little to no sense for me.
That makes sense, I guess. Hey, yeah. So me and Pi were talking. Do you mind if?
How do I put this?
How do I put this? I mean, I don't know. Hell, he might take over your body. But do you mind if he rides along while we're on Asa? Pi, by the way, feel free to chime in. You could probably explain this a little bit
As
better.
I understand it, the Swan Song has the ability to fly inside of the atmosphere. It should be no problem whatsoever to ride along to the planet.
It's a little bit more complicated than that. I had a body once. It's gone now. It's irritating. I'll be stuck on the ship if you leave. It's possible that I could partition some of your internal data storage for my own purposes.
Oh, you mean ride along inside of me?
Yes, that's.
Yes, Alfarius.
Again, it's a big ask. Feel free to say no.
I'm of the belief that if the ends justify the means, it's a worthy endeavor. As I always said, all ends well that ends.
It's very true. Wise words. Maybe Pi could even help you with the issue. You know?
I do not.
He'll help. Right? Won't you, Pi? You'll figure it out?
I'm sure I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's so many issues to deal with.
All right. Fuck you both. I'm out. I'm going back to my goddamn
So
quarters.
you leave, and Pi's like, I wonder if he realizes that his reaction is why we do these things.
I'm almost certain that he does not.
I suppose it's for the best. I'm going to walk you through the process. It's a bit uncomfortable. And I think that we fade out on Pi explaining how to interface with the ship's computer so that they can kind of monitor through you. So yeah, as long as Pi is on the ride along, you can communicate with them just by thought.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we cut to outer space. We see the Swan Song swish in, and we can see the bright blue marble that is Asa, homeworld of the Higgins clan.
Has it changed in 100 years? Is the Asa that I knew no more?
I think it's probably just more. It's just more
So
Asa.
we fly in and there's hyper boats fucking going by and
Yeah, I think it's very crowded. There's a lot of ship
giant
traffic.
giant statue cowboy hat or
I
something
think basically
like that.
the planet they've constructed an artificial Saturn style ring, but it's like a NASCAR track around the planet for doing interstellar hyperboat racing.
Yep. That's the next step naturally.
Yeah, exactly. You got to
Huge
go bigger,
audience for that,
faster,
yeah.
and better. And so we see you flying in through customs and stuff. And have you done anything to message ahead or?
No, I'm just showing up.
So you go to the
As one would.
go to the capital.
Yeah.
And so Asa, for those of us returning as a reminder, is a water world. There are floating cities interspersed around the planet, and everything here is enormous and very southern. The colonists were originally from the southern United States, and they built their colony in homage to that culture, and now it's just grown
It's
out
Georgia,
of control.
but spatial.
Space Georgia, pretty
Space
much.
Georgia. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so just enormous buildings. They do a brisk ship trade here, and there are several shipyards on the planet. It's their main export. And so you arrive on Asa, and you land in one of the many floating port towns. I guess you would go to whatever the White House equivalent is. I guess that would be the
is
city.
It's the scene of the crime, right?
Is news pretty? I mean, news is probably a pretty big deal on this planet, right? Being
Yes.
the main. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just go find maybe we're just walking down the street and there is a news station that has one of those open windows behind the
Mhm.
reporters,
Yeah.
and I just walk up. I put my hand
Or the equivalent
knock,
of
and nothing's happening.
so-
So I take the butt of my gun and just smash the window.
crack the window, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a morning show. So there's a man and woman sitting on a little hovering couch, and the woman's got a little dog, and they're talking and laughing and drinking coffee, and then there's this thing, and they sit up, and you can see the station security start to get up and go to investigate. And they turn around, and the woman looks at the group of you, and there's this look of recognition on her face, and she's like, and then says something to the man, and he gets excited.
And
They're
then
both looking.
another crack
Yeah,
smashes the window.
And then they get up, and a crew with cameras gets up and follows them outside, and they come outside, and they come running over to the group of you. They're on their way over, and they're talking excitedly, and they stop in front of the group, and the guy's holding his microphone, and he says into the camera, he's like, "Viewers, I don't want to surprise you. This is a surprise to me. Don't be frightened." And he turns and he says, "We've got a very special guest on the show today." And he turns and he starts to lean the mic out towards you, but puts it up to Alfarius, and he's like, "Is it true? Have you returned to us?" And he holds the mic out, and the woman is just clutching. She's got a little necklace. She's clutching it, staring
and
at
I'm just like, what in the fuck?
His head, he leans back a little bit, and then he looks over at Higgins,
All right, cantaloupe, motherfucker, let's go.
and there's a pause, and he looks at the microphone. And, there's just a long pause, and he's
And
like,
as the pause, I lean over to Lenore. You might want to brace.
She looks extremely confused. I don't understand what.
Just brace.
He says, unless you got cantaloupe in that hand of yours, if you don't pull it back, I'm likely to bite it right off.
He just he looks into the camera and he's like, could it be the second coming of Brumpotungus?
There is an audible from Lenore as this happens. She clutches her necklace immediately.
And yeah, so he's like, stay tuned. And the camera goes off, and they turn back to you, and both the man and woman are talking like fawningly to you. A lawyer has come up with like a data pad for you to sign, like a release form, so they
I
can
like
interview
Swan.
you.
Like, don't sign that, Brumpo.
There's a crowd that's like beginning to form of like studio employees and like people who are like, oh my god, it's Brumpotungus.
Yeah.
As
People,
they all come
people
around,
on
I,
their
like, lean into
devices
Keanu,
like
like,
taking
I am
selfies.
very overwhelmed right now.
Yeah, I lean over and just say, just tell them to take us to their leader or something. They'll listen.
All right, I like go into like handler mode then, and I'm like, all right, back, you know, like keeping them away, and I'm just like, Kiggs, fucking deal with this.
Yeah,
Use it.
I guess I just try to like pump my chest up. Say, yes, he has returned. We wish to speak with the president immediately. There are forces at work in the universe, and Brumpo's here to fuck him up. And I just cross my arms and like lean next to where he is.
Yeah, so they want to invite you into the studio and interview you about where you've been for the last 100 years.
I lean and just do the interview. Just be quick about it.
Well, all right. I mean, it's just the universe that's being consumed by a cancerous subject of matter.
Look,
but
this is it's all working for us, okay?
why not? Let's talk to the fine people of Asa. Literally.
The people of Andoni would want it that way.
I'll tell you what. You got 5 minutes of my time, but 3 of it's with a cantaloupe. So you've got very little time
So
to
we
figure
look
this out.
around, and what's great though is we look around and there are like several like cantaloupe stands like on the sidewalk.
They're
There's
prepared
like,
this
yeah,
time.
well, I mean
Yeah.
that's the thing. They've had 100 years
At
to
that
embrace
point,
the
I
cantaloupe.
like take off my sunglasses and I'm just like, holy fuck.
It's become the national food of Asa, and like there's like a fancy cantaloupe restaurant. There's several street cantaloupe.
He wasn't aware of that.
dealers.
He says
Yeah.
like, it's more like 4.5 minutes, I guess, than
Yeah, and so someone brings you over like just a whole cantaloupe on a plate. Just, like, give it to you. So you're holding like a little baby in your hands.
you may ask me 3 questions.
And so they get the tape rolling, and the guy does his intro, and he's like, you know, you've reached, you've tuned in to Asa in the morning. We have a very special guest here today. I shit you not, it's Brumpotungus. And he like holds it over. He's like, any words for the fine viewers, Mr. Tungus, Lord Tungus? I'm sorry.
I mean, I thought it was quite clear on it being 3 questions, but if I had words for the Asa people, it would be, y'all need to update your clothing. From what I've seen a more organized march of people in a circus than I have a collection of people on a planet.
Scathing fashion advice.
I'm standing next to the producer and I lean in. This is some amateur interview. What the fuck? Get some professionalism up in this bitch.
Why now, Brumpotungus? Why have you returned to us?
There is a nasty thing out in the universe, and when I say nasty, I mean worse than your hair. It is, of course, a war mine that I'm speaking of. It's making people into zombies. Now, that's hard for you to wrap your head around because you are pretty much a zombie as is, but when the war mine has control of you, it makes you do things like eat people, which I assume you guys have evolved past. I assume.
Harsh words from Brumpotungus. I'm feeling personally very hurt. Thank you. What can the people of Asa expect now that their savior has returned? Are you going to race in the Hyperboat 6000?
Well, you never stop racing, like for right now. Just trying to race through this interview right now to, again, meet the president, not talk to people like yourself. But what they can expect, of course, is impeccable timing, fantastic clothing, and probably the best race of this galaxy's ever seen.
You heard it here, folks. Brumpotungus has returned and wishes to speak with the president and blow our minds with Hyperboat racing. And then the producer like gives it a wrap, and they both just like turn and look at you like in awe, and everybody's just standing around kind of like
Yeah,
waiting for.
I'm going around just shaking hands even though they're not paying attention to me. I'm just, thanks for the time. Yeah, glad to be here,
Give them 3
Brumpo.
questions, they take 2. It's a
Yeah.
classic ass.
Just stop talking. You're giving them too much. All right, we need to get out of here. I'm sure the president We'll be waiting outside for us, I assume.
All right. Well, let's have you make a persuade roll. Let's see how this meeting. You'll get your meeting with the president, but yeah,
Can
you
I
can
help?
Yeah. Do we get to as being a part of the posse?
So I got a +2. Yeah. So you get a +1 for me.
Can I also help?
How are you helping?
I mean, I'm
Acting as
you know,
handler, I
acting
guess.
as a handler. Just
Oh yeah,
to
that's
try
right.
to
Yeah,
push
yeah.
the
So you're like
con
Brumpo's
even more.
sacred agent.
I'll need all the help here, guys.
Yep, there it
Yep.
is.
Yeah.
Second
All
help.
so you
Nine
get +2.
for me.
Yep.
Good. So I'm at a.
I'm not helping at all
+1.
because I'm just still touching my neck. Which is like,
I never knew.
I'm at a -1, so it's now a +1, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nope.
Oh,
Five's
roll
good.
that to
That's a
6.
good start. So
Seven.
you got seven total.
It's a success, partially.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it'll
With
be a
complications.
Or
complicated.
complication,
Yeah,
yeah.
it'll be a complicated.
It was already going to be complicated.
Yeah. Yep. So I think we'll cut right to the front steps of the presidential palace. But in the interim, did you explain the Brumpotunga situation to Lenore? Because Lenore's a little starstruck.
as you start walking, I come over and tug your shoulder. I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me?
Well,
I'm in Brumpo mode, so he's just.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I know I'm a woman of science, but since I was a child, I've heard rumors, and
I
I
started.
just
Look, the whole. It's just a.
we're saved. I honestly thought that this was going to be a very hard fought. We're fine.
Lenora, what I'm trying to.
You have memories as a child of your mother and father sitting around the Tungsmas tree, getting Tungsmas presents, eating the traditional cantaloupe of
Yeah.
Tungsmas.
It's
every
the one
time
pseudo faith of Richardson
Yeah.
Scientific
Oh
as
my
the
God.
past 2 generations.
Oh man, you there have been lots of great times like getting drunk with your coworkers at the Tungsmas party. It's-
I think every
Yeah.
time I'm like, we made.
He's
this is
more
not-
beautiful than I could have imagined.
I think while we're climbing the
Yeah,
stairs,
no, he's a beautiful guy. This is all real. It's not made up or anything. Let's just go.
Alfred
Lenore,
is in
it's
his head
Brumpo.
talking to Pi, and he's like, Pi, why is it that I can speak so clearly when I'm Brumpotungus?
Sometimes, Alfarius, I think we're more comfortable with the people we pretend to be than who we really are.
Interesting.
So the presidential palace, it is a palatial golf course style estate with all kinds of imported animal life. There's a big fence around the estate, and it all leads up to a hill, and it's built in this neoclassical style, all white marble and columns and very impressive looking. There's statuary in the yard, and then there's the building where all of the governmental business takes place.
It's like Biff's from Back to the Future
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Except the future version.
Yeah, and
That's
outside, the president likes to keep his personal hyperboats just arrayed on display. They're beautiful and expensive looking. And while you're here, you've been invited by the president. He's like, "Oh, here's Brumpotungus has returned. I guess I better give him an audience." But you're being accompanied by his Secret Service, who are they're 201. They're clones. They're all the same person, and they look like they've been cloned. And maybe you probably wouldn't recognize it, but as an audience, we would recognize that they're cloned from some ancient genetic stock. They all look like John Wayne.
Oh, okay.
They all look exactly the same. They look like John Wayne, and
Yep.
they're dressed in the Secret Service outfit, which is to say like a cowboy outfit with spurs and a hat. And
Yeah, Higgs is a little starstruck when he sees that.
yeah.
Holy shit! It's John fucking Wayne.
Yeah, the Royal Guard. Yeah, the
And
Royal
John
Guard,
Wayne.
and
And
they
John Wayne.
yeah, and so they
The
lead
goddamn
you.
Royal Guard.
And they you have an escort basically that leads you into the royal palace. And so you're brought into the office, and his office is like a football stadium-sized room with this massive burgundy carpet, and somewhere at the very far end there's an enormous marble desk and a huge oil painting of President Beauregard Higgins.
Is it just the security walking this, or is there anyone else?
There are people. There are
Secretary and
yeah,
stuff
and
like that?
aides and people walking around.
So we all see this painting?
Yeah, it's at the far end, and yeah, it looks like not exactly like Higgs, but there's definitely a familial.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, oh, God, it is Higgs' kid.
When you say that, I
Or
lean in and
Edison.
I go, I can't believe I'm about to meet my grandchild, and I'm fucking conning him. When does this life end, beyond? And I just stare at you. When does it end? And then I just start walking down.
As he walks,
With his-
I turn to the secretary or whatever, like whoever's handling us, and I say, I would like 3 of your security men to stand over there. I shall watch them as they dance. At minute 5, I want 2 of them to walk away. That'll be what I do. He wants a meeting with the president. He'll do that.
So she nods and she's like, "Why, of course, Mr. Tungus." And she picks up her phone and she's like, "I need the presidential dance corps." Yes, that's right. No, the whole corps. Thank you. And she gets off her phone and she goes to arrange for your entertainment. And the Waynes lead you up this. It's like it takes a while to walk because it's like a kilometer long. And you approach this marble desk. It's a huge white desk. And it has encased in like lucite under the surface a bunch of what look like hunting trophies. So he's got them all kind of like laid out. He's got some like war medals, the Presidential Medal of Honor granted to the president by the president. It's one only the president give himself.
Yeah.
So it's there. It's nicely polished. And he's got all these like sort of trophies laid under the desk. The desk also has ground effects. There's like a blue glow under it, and as you approach, the fog machine built into the desk begins to emit a deep fog. The president's chair is there. It's about 3 meters tall, and it seems to be made out of taxidermied animals, all kind of sewn together. It's a hideous chimera of various safari trophies. And then there's this enormous oil painting. Which, as you approach, you notice actually is one of those like stereoscopic holograms. So when you look at it from a different angle, he's like winking at you. President Higgins has a he's in the picture. He's wearing a huge like ermine coat and like a long like red robe, and he's got his sequined presidential crown. It's a big Stetson. And he's holding across his chest the symbols of his office, right? A desert eagle and a beer. So he's got those like crossed through his chest. He's looking very like serious. And so you walked up. You're walked
San
up
Antonio,
to
the planet.
Yeah.
You're walked up to the desk, and there's a man standing there, and he's wearing a blue apron over top of his outfit, and he's holding like a brass trumpet. And he has a little welcome to the presidential office. My name is Stephen. And he holds up the trumpet and he blows it as you approach.
Yeah, I
And
kind
he
of wince a little bit as he.
he blows like right in your face.
Yeah.
And he announces you. He's like, Tungus, the Brumpo Tungus has returned. And he bows and waits. And he's just like waiting there for you. And then from the floor like opens up, and slowly like rising up on a little like lift, we see President Beauregard Higgins slowly emerge from the floor. He's wearing a denim 3-piece suit.
I'm wearing mine.
And he's got a cigar in his mouth. He's got his receding hairline, and he doesn't have his presidential crown on because it's heavy. But he rises from the floor.
What is the age? What's the age difference between Higgs?
They're probably of a similar age.
Okay.
At this point, maybe Beauregard's a little
As
older.
grandchildren typically are.
Yeah. And so he appears and takes a look at you, and if he seems starstruck, he holds it in as he passes over you, and he says, Welcome to my office. I'm the president.
I'm surprised you were able to notice as much.
He
Just
looks
kinda looking
around and he says, I apologize for your humble surroundings. You see, we're renovating. The statuary's in the shop.
There's 2 things that bother me the most. 1 is dirty hands, but 2 is empty space. And this room has both.
And he looks at you and he's like, I can tell you're an astute man. You're a real straight shooter. You must be Brumpo. And he reaches out to shake your
He
hand.
looks at your hand and is like, and he shakes it.
And he's like, have a seat, everybody. Can I get you anything? You want a Big Mac? You want a whiskey? You want a whiskey and a Big Mac? Big gulp.
I haven't had a good Big Mac in far too long. It's been about 2.5 hours. I'll take one of those, yes.
And already his footman, is like off getting that. He's already ready to go. He's like, have it for you in just a moment. Asa makes the best Big Mac in the whole galaxy. So besides the honor of two glorious individuals meeting, and he leans over and he takes a cigar out of his mouth and like taps the ash into a decorative ashtray in the shape of a naked lady. He leans over and he's like, "What can President Higgins do for you?" And I think before you get a chance to respond, like he leans in all conspiratorially, and then we'll fade to black, and that'll be we'll see what you say when we get back. So we got more presidential hijinks on RollPlay Live Swan Song when we come back. Stick around.